looked at the content of your favorite commander creator and thought, nah, that opinion ain't it? You don't know how to upgrade your commander precons. Or you ever thought that my LGS is just not supporting the singles that I need in the right way? Well, Wizards of the Coast has come up with a solution. They're just gonna do it themselves. Both things. That's right, folks. Wizards of the Coast is now dropping secret lairs designed to upgrade commander precons, which is not only an interesting idea, as per Seth here, it's also a wild one. We're going to go over this. So we have the Edge of Eternity's commander precons, right? Now we have a secret lair that also gives you a singular Edge of Eternity's precon. Great, green flag on that one. And it gives you cards to upgrade said precon. But if you want to upgrade them, why didn't you just include them in the base box itself, right? Maybe they're super expensive cards, but then the value proposition would have to be there. But then if they're super expensive cards and you didn't include them in the initial list anyway, aren't we kind of just acknowledging the secondary market? Aren't we just selling singles directly instead of going to the LGS? This has to be the most anti-LGS thing I have ever seen. And obviously we've been making anti-consumer moves for like a while now, you know, going directly to Amazon and providing Amazon direct links to buy your products and everything. This has already been happening. But when it comes to just completely sidelining the upgrade path that we have, so for example, you go to Wizards of the Coast to buy your product. Heck, you might already be in the content creation ecosystem. You might go to someone like me that makes Edge of Eternity's content, that is also an MTG Edge of Eternity's ambassador who is getting screwed over on his algorithm because Spider-Man is out, but that's a whole other rant completely. But you look at my content and you maybe watch an upgrade guide and you then look at some of the cards that I mentioned. You then leave a like on that video. You might share it to a friend of yours and then y'all go to the LGS, buy your singles from there, upgrade your precon, you start playing. That's the pipeline. Now Wizards of the Coast says, no, I'm going to tell you what to upgrade with. And I'm going to sell you the precon directly. So you just have everything in this complete box. You don't need to watch the content creator who we've paid or compensated in some way to become an ambassador. You're just going to go to our product website, get what you need, then go to the LGS or then to your casual environment and further make the situation worse of commander players potentially not having a direct pipeline to support the LGS anyway. Commander players do buy a lot of singles, but they do spend a lot of time playing. So they might not all necessarily be buying singles or buying the food in there. I think we're just making this worse. So let's just hop right into it here. Commander Reinforcements World Shaper Bundle. Folks, it's called Commander Reinforcements. It is $74.98 on the Secret Lair website, okay? We're not going to accept the cookies here. The description of this says, so you have the Edge of Eternity's Commander box, as I was mentioning, right? You also have 5 cards, new art, by the way, so that is the value proposition as part of it, and you have some sweet cards in there like Crucible of Worlds, and honestly, a lot of cards that do actually synergize really well. 2 of these, notably, as we're going to talk about later, do get mentioned in upgrade videos, but the convenient bundle combines both the engine and the artistic expression into one package for the discerning galactic surveyor. The Commander Reinforcements World Shaper bundle pairs the World Shaper Commander deck from Edge of Eternity's and a Secret Lair drop designed to enhance the Lands Matter strategy. The Alien Aurora Secret Lair drop complements the World Shaper strategy with 5 thematically and mechanically relevant cards. Each card in the drop contributes to the deck's game plan, adding land recursion and land sacrifice. Again, if they contribute to the deck's game plan and we have this Secret Lair drop, why didn't we originally just include them in there? Right? Like, this is clearly done as a way to separate this to also sell the Secret Lair, because now you can get it directly. Now it's an increased value proposition. You don't need to just buy the commander box. You can get these exclusive arts alongside the commander box directly as a bundle and avoid the whole LGS purchasing situation and looking at content creators for upgrade pathways. You could just do this, and you know that the Secret Lairs themselves are not going to be, in many ways, cards that are necessarily banned. If they were to do this again, it's not going to be bracket 4 cards, bracket 3 cards put into a precon in bracket 2. But that's a whole other discussion if we take a look at the deck list. Now, the cards themselves, they're definitely not in the deck list. Let me just kind of completely take that away from you for a second, right? So first of all, Crucible World, Zuran Orb, very simply in the artifact section, not in the deck list. This is from the reveal announcement. Not in there. Sylvan Safekeeper, actually really solid in this deck. If you watch this budget upgrade guide, Sylvan Safekeeper is actually mentioned as a budget upgrade, but not a creature currently in this deck list. So these cards are not mentioned in there. You could go a little bit tinfoil hatty in the fact that if you go into that command zone video, they do specifically name Zuran Orb and Sylvan Safekeeper, but those cards, again, are relatively budget and in general are very good in lands matter strategies, right? So these are universal cards that you have seen in your Lord Windgrace players or your Omnath players. They have likely, tried to traumatize you with them. So they're going to be common, but they are budget upgrade pieces. So the price actually does matter in this discussion as well, because if we look at the value proposition of the 5 cards, if you look at MTG stocks here, on average 60 cents for aggressive mining. You can't play lands, but you can sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards, activate this ability only once each turn. So this is a great way to just, I guess, draw through your deck. And also, if you remember from the kind of ability of the primary commander, which I should go over, you may play lands from your graveyard, and whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to Zarel's power and up to 1 other target creature. Now, if you sacrifice a land, then you're going to be putting 1/1 counters onto something, and you're going to be drawing some amount of cards. So if you have a whole bunch of lands and everything, and other ways to put lands in that isn't playing lands, then that's going to be great. But there are a lot of unfocused things in this deck. For example, I don't actually particularly like Rampaging Baloth in this, because in order to trigger the commander, you need to sacrifice non-token things. And this card generates a bunch of tokens. Now, I will give it a technical pass because it is go wide. So along some things like Marag, yeah, you can create some combat situations that do work in terms of that. But Planetary Annihilation is actually a whole different discussion as well. I'm going to bring this up in tomorrow's video, but we have land destruction in a precon that would technically make it bracket 4. Right? That's something that's happening right now. So in general, there are some cards in here that don't make sense, and you see that in every precon. So again, it's just adding to the fact that we could already add these cards in here, and alongside that, aggressive mining kind of feels like it's supposed to be alongside this unfocused line of things. You can't play land, so this is kind of supposed to be a finisher that's not really a finisher. Like, it just allows you to draw through a bunch of cards, but it doesn't even give you a way to necessarily destroy it. But of course, you're in a deck that wants to sacrifice non-token permanent, so you likely have a way to sacrifice the aggressive mining. Regardless, 60 cents. Then you have Zuran Orb, somewhere around $1 to $3. Regardless, a pretty classic card, common in the lands, decks and everything. There was a time, if we kind of focus down, where it was like super expensive and all that stuff. Not necessarily anymore. There is value in this, but regardless, only $3. You have Reprocess, which, $5 to $6 on average. Sacrifice any number of artifacts, creatures, and or lands to draw a card for each one sacrificed this way. Notably, Reprocess doesn't actually sacrifice the aggressive mining. Big L. I'm just saying, kind of an L, and you draw some amount of cards. So another sacrifice outlet that works with your commander to help buff up your board. So you put out a bunch of lands, you might sacrifice all those lands, draw cards, put a bunch of 1/1 counters onto things, and get a lot of value, swing in for an alpha swing. The deck functions that way. Next up, Sylvan Safekeeper, another solid card that honestly has a lot of value even in Constructed, to be honest, even in Constructed, because it has been made legal it is played, I should say, in the Eternal formats. It does see some level of play, giving stuff Shroud, sacrificing a bunch of lands, protecting your whole board. Very relevant in terms of how it works with your commander. So if your opponent has removal for something, you're going to sacrifice your land, buff up one of your creatures based on your commander, but also give it protection. Solid card. The last one is going to be Crucible of Worlds. This is the most expensive one. About $30 to $45 or $30 to $40. I don't know where I came up with 45, but $30 to $40, depending on the copy, depending on the foil, it's going to be much more, probably around like the $100 or something like that for Crucible of Worlds. Now, this is the high value thing here. This is the cost of the deck. Now, if you look at the Secret Lair proposition in total, right? So we have a bunch of like cheap cards, 60 cents, $3, $6. So right now we're at about $10. Okay, let's say $7 for this thing on average, $17 plus, 33 average. okay, so you're at 17, you know, that's going to be about $50. Right, $50 worth of value in the secret lair, and it's alt art, so that's really nice. In terms of a value proposition, if you look at the MSRP of the commander decks, the Edge of Eternities, they're supposed to have $45. So if you were to add it all together, 50 plus 45, you're getting a rough MSRP, roughly about $90 to $100, depending on the condition of the card, that you're getting, the art, all that stuff. So with that in mind, if you were to take a look at the price of this, that's not a bad proposition in terms of value. $75, honestly, pretty budget, like $45 plus the value of Crucible of Worlds on top of that, pretty solid. Like you're getting all of this stuff for quote unquote free. So that's kind of nice. The problem is, now that you're adding value propositions to something like this, I feel like it takes even more away from the LGS itself. Right? Like it takes away from that pipeline. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Wizards of the Coast is giving you a direct way to upgrade these. They're not adding these cards into the deck list with planning that this secret lair was coming out in mind. So they could have added some of these that were actually really cheap and really synergistic with the deck, but they saw this coming down the line. So they're like, let's make in my opinion, this is what I think happened. Let's make a worse precon and add these as a combo to a secret lair later down the line that does actually provide a product, a full functioning commander deck, which we've seen in the past with, like, you know, full decks and all that stuff, but also adding a value proposition to now where we add even more FOMO to the secret lair model that a lot of people have criticisms of. If you're able to get a hold of this, and now these are potentially going to have some number of copies going to the LGS. We've seen this as, you know, with the Sonic secret lairs, some number of those copies are going to the LGS to sell. I feel like it just kind of takes away from them because it's still exclusive. It's not like the LGSs around the world are going to get 100 copies of this per LGS. It's going to be a limited quantity. It's not going to go to all the smaller ones and all that stuff. It's really going to go to the bigger ones. So it just takes away from parts of the pipeline that Wizards of the Coast is trying to promote. We're trying to promote the LGSs. We're trying to promote the content creators giving you this information. And we're also trying to give you upgrade pathways to a functioning precon. So you've already eliminated the idea of quote unquote functionality. The deck is decent, but you could have added some of these cheap cards. You're decreasing functionality for a secret lair that you want to bundle with. So you are giving people an upgrade path that we could have made content on and talked about already. Now people are just gonna be like, you're just stealing from the secret lair, right? And then also at the end of the day, you're taking away from this discovery at the LGS by creating a reprint for a special art card, which again isn't really a reprint. The price of Crucible Worlds is not going down from this. I have to acknowledge it as a reprint, but it's not a reprint in terms of decreasing it in value. If anything, these are going to be worth more in value. So the value proposition is there. But then also that just means that when it comes to secret lairs and their FOMOs, it takes away from the LGS because these are probably just going to get scalped. The LGSs that have them, the shady ones, are probably just going to open these and sell these at a markup, or they're going to get bought out anyway by people that are probably just scalpers, which we've been seeing as of the last couple of sets of Edge of Eternities and the Universes Beyond. I mean, look at Final Fantasy and their, you know, scalping situation. It's like all the Pokevestors have come into the Magic the Gathering hobby and really started to kind of take it to a whole new level. So we know that the regular player that would want something like this is not going to get access to this, creating bad feelings about it. So why even make a product like this at all? Why are we selling more direct-to-consumer singles that the LGS should be selling through their products? The secret lair model has really changed in recent years, where with the rise of frequency in mechanically unique secret lairs, it's become more of a problem. We see in the Sonic secret lair, the Deadpool secret lair, especially with the Deadpool one, there's been a lot of talk about its discrepancy in paper versus online play of Dual Commander, which is actually relatively popular as a queue on Magic Online. You can't purchase Deadpool as a card on that format, but it's like topping events in paper for Dual Commander. And then you have the Sonic secret lair, where you have Shadow the Hedgehog that seems to be relatively popular because it's giving all your spells split second, a really powerful ability in colors that's really good at making treasures. If you pay for spells with a with something like a treasure, you're able to give it split second. So a powerful card that you can only get through a secret lair that doesn't have a reprint plan down the line right now as of the recording of this video. So you're not able to get that card for purchase, not only online if you're playing Commander online on Magic Online, or you can't even just get it in paper. Yes, again, the LGSs are going to get them, but it's not going to be in plentiful quantity. The casuals that want to play it will not be able to. And so then you get into this discussion of the whole proxy debate. And as an MTG ambassador, I probably shouldn't be talking about proxies. I shouldn't be trying to promote them. But how else are we going to be able to play mechanically unique secret lair cards, because they're being sold as direct-to-consumer singles from Wizards of the Coast? They've figured out the model. They've figured out the infinite printing machine. Not only is it Universes Beyond and getting the wallets of people that are outside of the game, but it's also hounding all of the casuals and kind of drawing at the whole gambling addiction FOMO part of it, just kind of massaging people's frustration with not being able to get cards like this and just make it even worse. I don't know how to feel about this Reinforcements World Shaper bundle. I think overall, with my mixed feelings, I'm feeling overall negative about this. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comment section down below. There's obviously a lot of negativity about the secret lair model in general, now being packed onto the fact that Wizards of the Coast is just giving you direct upgrade packs. Let me know what you think. I just don't think this is something that we need to be pushing. I don't think this is at all the map whatsoever. And I think in general, we don't need to do this. I think we can separate our products from our secret lairs. And I think I smell a little bit of collusion in the fact that we probably could have included some of these, if not just the Crucible of Worlds. And we are kind of just indirectly acknowledging the secondary market, which we said we didn't want to do for legal purposes. So what is going on here?